party, jump party, bomb party, rooftop party, jump party, bomb party, rooftop party, jump, rooftop party, jump, rooftop.
Make it clap.
Welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, the WWBA World Championship 2023, our 25th year here in Jupiter, Florida. Your 24th, David Ronsley, sitting next to me for this incredible matchup between eXposure National Scout Team and Elite Squad Baseball. I'm Danny Wexelman, and as I said, David Ronsley will be joined with me in Game 1. This is Pool M. David, here are the standings. A huge surprise, as you can see here, Elite Squad and eXposure both losing yesterday. They're 0-1 in pool play. They're both looking for their first win today.
And that, I can't tell you how important that is. Every pool winner goes on to the playoffs, plus 6 wildcard teams. eXposure National was probably the #1 ranked team in this pool, and Elite Squad, if eXposure was 1, Elite Squad was 2. So both teams losing in upsets to the Upstate Mavericks, Hawaii Elite yesterday. eXposure's was especially tough. They lost a 4-1 lead in the 5th and 6th innings. So it's a lot of pressure on these two teams today, because the team that wins is still going to stay in the playoff hunt. The team that loses is basically done. Yeah, there's a lot at stake this afternoon here on Perfect Game TV. We're so glad that you're joining us. You just saw a really, really beautiful picture of the scouts who are here. More than 700 scouts. They are littered throughout this complex, Marlins Cardinals complex. And again, we have 2 great teams, but not only that, these teams have so much history. Let me tell you a little bit about this. The Elite Squad in particular, David, and I know that you have seen these players. You've been here for 24 years. As you see Jim Jenks getting his eXposure team ready, telling them what's going on Perfect Game TV today. The alum from Elite is incredible. Yeah, Jesus Luzardo, the fine young lefty, one of the best young lefties in the majors, of course, we're headlining. He's just coming off a playoff start for the Marlins. But Elite Squad's had 24 players, play in the big leagues. They've got 211 drafted players, and the history is great. They don't have any of that real All-American level talent on this year's team, but the history of the organization is tremendous. Yeah, how about this guy too, Jonathan India, NL Rookie of the Year. He was an All-American back in 2014 with Perfect Game, and he's been fantastic for the Reds. Yeah, 2014 PG All-American, and the leader of the Reds clubhouse. That's a fun thing to know. But with its prospects too, we all know the Baltimore Orioles have some of the best prospects in baseball, not the best, headed by third baseman Kobe Mayo, AAA this year. There may not be room for him in Baltimore, but one of the top-ranked minor league prospects, also an Elite Squad National alum. Obviously a really special team. They have a really rich history, and they're going to try to bring some of that here, because they don't want to go 0-2. That's not how you want to start here in Jupiter. We're going to introduce you to the Elite Squad lineup. Batting leadoff, Dylan Howell. He'll be the extra hitter for this team, and you're going to see this lineup, David. Obviously, there are more than 9 batters in this lineup, but we're going to get to see these guys come up. You can see their rank as well. Some of these guys, where they rank. Alejandro Lutero, 402. He'll be behind the plate for this team. They're out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Their head coach, Richie Palmer. Yeah, Richie's one of the legends in the coaching and travel ball industry, and it's always great to see Richie, one of the best gentlemen, one of the finest men in the coaching industry and travel ball. That lineup is going to face Eric Lintelman, right-handed pitcher, committed to Elon. He's out of Westchester, Pennsylvania. David, he shared with us that he's got some good fastball run, his changeup, and a late breaking curveball. We'll get to see it on display today. Yeah, Lintelman's going to be the key to this game. He's had an outstanding summer. He's 5 for 5 in all tournament recognition in his 5 tournaments. 30 innings, 15 hits allowed, 45 strikeouts. Not a big kid, 5'11", you saw the list there, but a very good athlete, runs a 6'5", 60, and he's going to be throwing maybe up to 92 with a mid-70s breaking ball, and he's a strike thrower. We've got 2 games on Perfect Game TV today for you. Day 2 of the WWBA World Championship. Yesterday, David, you were here for the early game with Darren. You guys had a lot going on Marlins 6, and then Brian Sikowski joined him for that afternoon game. So we've got 2 games today as well for you all. If you're at home, maybe you're out in the complex watching and
you really enjoy listening to us or watching, how about the best talent, the best travel teams in the country in Jupiter?
Yeah, the fun thing about these broadcasts, Danny, for me is when you look at broadcasts from a year or two ago and you see the number of viewers. I just look on YouTube and you look at a game and it's had 1.2 million views or 400,000 views, and you see the depth of interest around the country at this level of baseball and people coming back and looking at prospects, you know, as they make up their way up the line. Say, hey, maybe I can watch a game that Kobe Mayo played, you know, back when he was in Jupiter when he was a kid.
It's one of the best parts is that you get to see the growth. You get to see them here, and then as we mentioned, all the alum that come through as well. We're going to tell you a little bit more about everybody who's a part of these teams. Batting leadoff, by the way, we mentioned, it's Dylan Howell, and he's somebody who's absolutely known for his defense, David. His defense, he wrote about it, he told us all about it, but he's going to be batting leadoff. He's a Winthrop commit, catcher shortstop. His parents are Rebecca and Patrick. Looks like they are just making sure the mound is good to go for Eric Lintelman.
Yeah, obviously the weather's been great here in Jupiter, knock on wood. It's going to stay that way. That's certainly what's forecast, but with 5 games scheduled a day on this field, the grounds crew between games giving a heavy dose of water. It's going to be, you know, upper 80s today, and maybe put a little too much water on the mound.
They're the real heroes here, though. The turnover for the fields is incredible. They get them ready for all the teams that are coming through all day. So one of the guys, we mentioned eXposure losing yesterday, Conrad Cason, is a key to their offense. We saw him, a perfect game All-American. We just saw him a few months ago. You can see him here with his coach, but he's going to be a key to their offense. Yeah,
no doubt about it. You know, he had just an incredible summer. He wasn't a guy who went into PG National like with an assumed All-American berth, but he was so good there, and 28th ranked player in the country right now.
How about Chase Fralick? We were talking about him before our show started and how impressed we were with the year he's had.
Oh, he's going to be right at the top of the list for Player of the Year. He's playing 48 PG games. He's hitting over 400. He's got 7 bombs. You know, he could go yard this game. So, you know, he's a big hitter to watch.
Another guy on this team we've known for a very long time. First time I met him, he was 13 years old. He made the Select Fest, 13 and 14U Select Fest alum Anthony Trelongo. Just saw him pregame, by the way. So sweet. He said, I've been watching you. I see everything you're doing. Congratulations. What a great person.
Yeah, great young man, committed to Auburn. Great PG career. He's over a 400 PG hitter in his career, and that spans back, as you said, 6 years, so almost 300 games in his PG career. You know, we know Anthony as well as any player in the country.
Yeah, very talented on both sides. Great defense, great bat. He's going to be a part of this team's offense as well. Listen, I think that if eXposure wants a chance to win this game against Elite Squad, they need all 3 of those guys to compete in this morning's matchup.
Yeah, and I'm really going to watch Lintelman because, you know, he's ranked 500. He's going to Elon, but he's the type of pitcher who really excels in this environment, and that 5 for 5 on all tournament teams this summer shows it. And we're talking about some big events: PG World Series, 17U, national championships. He's gone out all the time, thrown 5 or 6 solid innings. You know, nothing spectacular. We'll see it, like I said, a 91 or a 92. Or we'll see it when we get the game going. We still haven't done that yet.
Yeah, he's drawing a pretty big crowd right now. Golf carts are sometimes the main event here at Jupiter. Here's what happened yesterday. First inning, top tier ruse. This was game 2, NEB, top tier ruse. This was Brian's game. David, did you stick around for this one? Did you see what happened?
I know what just happened in that first, and that's Hunter Carnes, PG All-American Hunter Carnes, going yard over 100 miles an hour off the bat. It was a spectacular hit, but I think a 9-1 game, top tier ruse took home the victory there.
Hunter Carnes has done that all summer.
Yeah, he has, and it's unfortunate he missed the All-American game after he got hit in the face with a pitch at the 17U, but just had a spectacular, PG National.
We got some eXposure players who maybe don't realize we're live on air right now. They're waiting for the game to get started. We're going to step away for a moment. When we come back, we are expecting this game to get going because there was a lot of good action yesterday, David. We deserve just the same here on Marlin 6. So we're going to step away, and we'll be back with our game, eXposure National Elite Squad, when we return.
Oh, yeah. Been waiting for this one.
All right, welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, the WWBA World Championship. If you are not here, you're missing out. This is where we come every October, the 25th annual for Perfect Game. David Ronsley, your 24th year here. We've got a game coming up for you, Elite Squad National and eXposure National, right here on Marlin 6. But before we get to that, David, 24 years coming down to balmy, beautiful Jupiter, Florida. We mentioned some of the alums who have come through these teams. Do you have a memory, a moment that sticks out to you?
I think probably my number one memory was watching the late, great Jose Fernandez pitch in the playoffs, pitching for a FTB Cardinal Scout team on a completely loaded team. I think that team had like 12 future big leaguers on it. And he could have retired big league hitters that day. He threw 6 innings, 2 hits, shutout, 93-96. Best performance I've ever seen in my scouting career by a high school pitcher. And it's notable, the team he was pitching against, the Dallas Patriots, I said they had 2 hits, and I said it's big league stuff. The 2 hits were by Josh Bell and Trevor Story. You know,
wow.
And the only future big league regular stars could get hits off Fernandez that day.
Josh Bell, who we just saw, by the way, in the wild card series with the Marlins.
Yeah.
How awesome is that?
Yeah, and you go back, most of my memories seem to be from 10, 15, 20 years ago. It's players like Scotty Kazmir having as much fun as you can have on a baseball field, both pitching and playing center field, and watching Tyler Matzik and Shelby Miller face off on Marlin 6 with literally every scout in the entire place watching them. And you just go through all the list of big league players. You know, Joey Votto is retiring, and I watched him play in a game.
Is he retiring? What do you think?
I think he's retired.
You do?
I think he's
I don't think he is. I think he's coming back.
Okay, we'll see what the Reds' appetite is and how the negotiations go, because, I mean, I'm sure they want him back as a clubhouse leader and stuff.
I think baseball needs him.
Yeah, but I watched him and actually sat with his mom for a couple
special.
innings. You know, and that kind of makes me feel a little old, but it's part of the memories here at Jupiter.
Yeah, I mean, we're surrounded again by more than 700 scouts, right? So there are big league scouts here, there are college scouts here, any kind of scout is here. And what's awesome is you can see them, they're all facing inside to watch this game. They're here to see the top guys. They're here to see guys they don't know about. They're keeping, you know, some scouts are area scouts. It depends. They're here to see their own guys. It looks like we might be getting started soon. They're going to put some Diamond Dry on the mound. But the scouts, you know, they have their uniform on. They've got their bucket hats, their stopwatches, their clipboards, their backpacks. That's what I call a scout uniform. Some have towels wrapped around because it is a bit hot outside today. But I love walking through this complex in this area and getting to see every single scout that exists in the world of baseball.
Yeah, and it's impossible to walk. If I tried to walk from here over to Marlins 5 right next door, I'd probably get stopped, you know, 3 or 4 times, just as you would too, whether it's a college coach, whether it's a scout, whether it's somebody who used to work for Perfect Game who is a scout. That's the most common thing. I've had about 4 or 5 conversations you know, since yesterday, just with ex-PG scouts who are now working for major league teams. And that's always fun to you know, meet up with people, you know, that you've worked with before who are doing well in the baseball industry and are here to enjoy these great players.
Well, this is an important time. So not only is it your last chance to see some of these guys. I know for me, David, it's my last chance to see some of these guys before the draft, but a lot of these guys will shut down after this event and they won't pick up a baseball for a while. I talked to PJ Morlando yesterday. We're going to see him and his Canes squad coming up in our second game this afternoon, #1 player in his class and in his draft class. And, you know, he talked about it was really important for me to be here, but I'm going to take a little break after this is done. You know, they just came back from Taiwan. They're a little tired, but they wanted to be here. That's how important this event is.
Yeah, and with the pitchers, I don't know whether there is an All-American pitcher that is here to pitch. You know, it's primarily, you know, the position players like a PJ Morlando or a Drew Rogers or Conrad Quezon that are here. The pitchers, for the largest part, are shut down, the premium level pitchers.
Right.
And that's one difference in Jupiter over the years. Is I mentioned Jose Fernandez and Shelby Millers and Scott Kazmier's. They wouldn't be pitching. Your
Jose Fernandez story, by the way, is one of my favorites that you tell. I never get sick of hearing you watching him and knowing how special he was going to be in high school.
Yeah. And part of the fun part about that game was at the same time, you know, we're talking about a team that had, you know, the outfield was Almora and Winker. The infield was Baez and Lindor and Vogelbach.
Yeah.
And All-American Dan Marlette was catching. And the team had 12 future big leaguers on it. And that's kind of one of the fun parts of the story, too.
No doubt about it. We hope we have some fun. We're going to step away one more time. The Diamond Dry is on the mound. Again, elite squad against Exposure National. Both teams looking for their first win. When we come back, we'll hopefully get this game started. Jupiter, Florida, World Wood Bat World Championship Year 25, Perfect Game TV. I'm Danny Wexelman with David Ronsley. Here's the quad, here's the complex, the Marlins and the Cardinals littered around here except for its travel teams. We take over this time of year. And what's crazy, David, is I was telling Darren that the past couple of years, you know, we've seen Jazz Chisholm walking around this area. He's come to Jupiter, and every year I see him, I said, I really hope I don't see you this year. I hope that the Marlins are playing playoff baseball, October baseball, and that is the case, although they were eliminated. But I was happy to see that they made it. I was so excited to see him playing October baseball because he'll come in and take his time, hang out with these kids. He comes back. We often get alum who are coming back, but I just distinctly remember talking to him and saying, I really hope I don't see you in the nicest way possible next year.
And the irony is Jazz Chisholm isn't even a PG alum.
That's right.
Being from the Bahamas, I believe. Didn't even play in PG events. My favorite PG alum that came back and actually to coach a team was Mookie Betts.
Yeah. Oh, when was that?
Yeah, who you know played for Doolin's Dodgers, and when he was in high school, and came back and 1 year coached third base for Doolin's Dodgers. And yeah, he's usually in the playoffs now, so he's not going to be available. But it was so much fun. I remember walking with Tim Doolin and Mookie Betts all the way from the parking lot out to the far end of the Cardinals, quad where they were playing, and it was just fun to get to talk to him and talk about things like bowling and playing in high school and what it was like to play for Tim Doolin and the Doolin Dodgers.
I saw Edwin Diaz here a couple of years ago. I think it was pre-2020 when he was still with the Mariners. Saw him here. He came back to watch some games. Every single year it feels like there are just guys coming back to hang out because if we're being honest, I think travel ball is one of their favorite memories. It's one of their favorite things they get to do. As you see, a little more diamond dry being put. This is home plate. Behind home plate, maybe the field was watered a little too much. David, you said they gave it a little too much love?
Yeah, I think they gave it too much love. If you were watching a tennis broadcast, this would be what's called an unforced error. This is pushing back the game pretty much at least a half an hour. And that's just, we have four more games on this field.
It's a busy
Last one
day.
scheduled at 7:40 or 8 o'clock. So these are long days at Jupiter, and pushing them back a bit will hurt the schedule, but I guarantee you at 11 o'clock tonight or 10:30 when everything's shut down, there's still going to be a majority of the scouts here. College coaches, agents, everybody's staying here watching.
Well, day 1 and 2 is so exciting, right? Because everyone is here. Everyone's amped to be here. Everyone's got their best faces on, and I feel like it's the best time to see everybody. After that, you're like, oh, day 3, 4, it's a little hotter. There are less teams here, right? Once you get down to the end, as you explained, who advances and how that works. By the way, our championship game on Monday here on PGTV. We got you covered for that. Darren Sutton, David Ronsley will be on the call. We'll have wall-to-wall coverage for those two teams that happen to advance. But, yeah, I mean, I think to see these teams, the best part, David, they have great attitudes. These guys always do. Right now, team exposure, they're throwing the football around, trying to stay loose. We like to see that. It looks like Eric Lintelman is checking out the mound to make sure it's to his liking, it's safe for him. We obviously, safety first here for all the players involved. That's number 1 for everybody. And it looks like it is okay. So he's going to take some practice throws, and we'll get to see this.
Yeah, and that's ultimately it's up to the pitcher. If the pitcher says, I'm not comfortable here, nobody's going to try to talk him out of it.
No doubt.
If he says this is too wet, let's get the ground screw out, that's going to happen. And I actually hats off to Lilman for realizing there's a problem and telling his coaches about it and getting it acted on, because we certainly do not want anybody hurt here.
No, definitely not. Hey, one of his players, by the way, he loves to watch, Garrett Cole. He said, I love how he pitches. Garrett Cole, if I had a vote, David, would be my American League Cy Young for this year.
I think you and the, 30 people eligible to vote for it would all be in conjunction on that. I think we have some of the most obvious awards ever. Do we have baseball here, Danny?
I think we have baseball. It looks like we are about to get set for first pitch. Game 1, we've got 2 today on PGTV. Again, Dylan Howell leading off the Winthrop commit out of Weston, Florida.
And on my very unofficial clock, I have first pitch at 11:05.
11:05.
And again, that's important because we're operating under a 2-hour time limit. No inning can start after 2 hours. It's not a drop-dead rule, but it is something all these players and coaches know, because all the PG tournaments are played under the same rules.
And I mean, that was what was so important in yesterday's exposure game, right? I think that was a factor for them. They realized, well, we hit the 2-hour mark, and this game, it was an intense game. We could keep going, but you can't. You got to stop the game. Yeah.
And Hawaii was able to come back with 4 runs in the bottom of the 6th, and that was game over because they went over the 2-hour mark. And that's kind of something that if it's a close game, it will come into play. Hopefully we get 7 in, and I would say a majority of the games go 7 innings, but if we go 6, so be it.
2-2 count, and there's strike 3, a strikeout for Eric Lintelman.
Yeah, nice. One thing I immediately notice about Lintelman is he just threw 5 pitches in less than a minute. I mean, he's working fast. If there was a pitch clock, it wouldn't even come into play with Lintelman on the mound. He's throwing, taking 1 step back, and getting on the rubber and firing.
You think he was ready to play? He was ready to get out there, huh? Batting now, Ronnie Cruz, the shortstop for Elite Squad. Swing and a miss. 1-1 count.
Cruz, one of 2 Miami commits on the Elite Squad roster. Elite Squad's always been a feeder program into the Miami program.
Chops it softly to third. Fired across the diamond in time for the second out.
Nice play by Jason Bello, the third baseman for eXposure. That was a lot harder play than it looked. I don't think Cruz got out of the box very well with that, with the wetness. Because this wasn't even a close play, but nice bare hands, cross body, throws a strike, great play.
That'll bring up Ethan Puig, playing third base in this morning's matchup for Elite Squad. Out of Miami, Florida, committed to Miami. He takes ball 1, it's a 1-1 count. 4.0 GPA as he rips that ball. Might have deflected off Lindelman. Nice job at second base making that play. Conrad Cason for the third out of the frame. So we're gonna come back in the bottom of the first inning. We're scoreless in Jupiter, Elite Squad National and eXposure National. We'll be back.
Oh yeah. Been waiting for this one.
Welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, the WWBA World Championship. We're scoreless, bottom 1, Elite Squad National and eXposure National, both 0-1 yesterday. David, that's the big story here. Both looking for their first win. This is a huge game for both these teams. And the key for this eXposure team, they're out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, is the top of this lineup for me. They've got to get these guys going. Yesterday, Conrad Cason somehow held hitless in the game, and that's going to be a key for them. Chase Freilich as well. Anthony Trelongo in the 2, 3, 4 holes.
Yeah, you're not going to find a better top 4 hitters really in this tournament for any of the 104 teams. I mean, Buckner gets on base at a 500 clip. Cason, an All-American. Freilich, potential, first team catcher on any, summer All-Star team. Trelongo, the veteran with the big numbers. I mean, that's a murder's row. And if Donovan Rabel can get through it, the lefty starting for Elite Squad, hats off to him.
No doubt, Donovan Rabel, as we mentioned, David, we were talking about, he's uncommitted. The lefty, he's got the attention of a lot of scouts behind the plate. He's out of Jacksonville, Florida. He shared with us that this year actually was a breakout year for him on the mound. He described his pitches. He's got a nasty changeup, a sweeping slider. He's got natural arm side run, and he's a competitor.
Yeah, you're going to see the classic, soft tossing, crafty lefty. Actually, Rabel topped out at 87, a year ago, but this summer mostly pitched 80 to 83. But as you mentioned, the curveball, the changeup, the movement on his pitches, he's been able to be very successful with that approach.
So Buckner leading off out of Knoxville, Tennessee, the Mississippi State commit. Takes ball 1 high.
Yeah, just looking up Buckner's numbers for the summer, playing for eXposure, over a 400 average with close to a 500 on-base percentage. 10 steals, so he's a threat to run if he gets on.
He's got a 3.5 GPA. He's a peer tutor for special education students. Spends time volunteering in his community. Our pitch missing. It's a 3-0 count.
A Mississippi State commit. I was counting, and there are 9 SEC commits on this eXposure national roster.
And that's ball 4. So he works the leadoff walk for eXposure.
Not an uncommon thing to see a walk in the first inning. You know, there are nerves out there for these young men, even a pitcher like Donovan Rabel, who's, you know, pitched a lot of innings, been in a lot of big games for elite squad and for his high school. But there's always going to be some nerves when you have all the scouts watching, you're on TV.
That'll bring up Conrad Cason. We talked about him a little bit as we started our broadcast this morning. He was held hitless yesterday, but he's a key piece to their offense. In fact, the top 4 are for this eXposure team: a perfect game All-American, another Mississippi State commit out of Lilburn, Georgia. And my fun fact for the day, David, is that he's a black belt in karate.
Black belt in karate.
Yes.
Which probably under some of the rules of getting, you know, martial arts, you know, awards, levels like that, probably prohibits him from running out to the mound at any point or something.
Exactly. I looked at him and I said, should I even ask you what you're capable of doing with that black belt? And he's like, don't even ask.
Yeah, no, that's...
He likes the discipline. He said, I love the challenge of it.
Yeah, and that's you know, I have never, you know, taken any classes, done any of that myself, but I've read about it. And just you said the discipline to do it really stands out. And I'm sure it makes him a better athlete. You know, some athletes talk about, you know, things like yoga that you might want to normally associate with being an athlete and how much yoga helps them physically. Well, with Cason, it's karate.
Rabel's ahead 1-2 in the count. Gets him to swing and miss. They tag him out. So that's the first out in the bottom of the first.
Danny, I think that was the changeup. 1-2 changeup. You could see it running away from Cason. Put it in an unhittable place and picked up an important strikeout with a runner already on base.
Yeah, big out for him. That's going to bring up the 3-hole hitter. We mentioned the scary numbers, Chase Freilich. And he takes a strike from Rabel. Looks like he's settled in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Got the nerves off, and it'll also be something to watch in the game, whether he's more effective pitching from the windup or the stretch. You know, throwing out of the stretch for the last 5 pitches. As that one gets Freilich in the hip, a soft curveball. That's not going to leave much of a mark on the big 6'3", 210-pound Freilich. But 2 runners on base now.
Yeah, runners on first and second. That brings up the cleanup hitter, Anthony Trelongo, someone who we have known and have been able to watch for such a long time, 2-time Select Fest alum.
Okay, let's embarrass Anthony. Tell me a story from when he was 13 or 14, when you were talking to him at the festivals.
Well, David, if my memory serves right, he was the MVP at 13 years old.
I think you are correct.
And as he swings through strike 1, you know, these guys are still trying to learn how to do interviews and trying to talk to the media, so to speak. And I wouldn't say that there was anything that he did that I was like, oh, we can work on that. I thought he was really well spoken from a really young age. I don't have anything embarrassing on this guy.
I thought it was really sweet when he came over and said hi.
It was. He blasts that ball in the air to center field. The catch is made. The runners will stay put.
Rabel doing a nice job of pitching around trouble here. Stuff's up from how he threw this summer. He's been pretty much sitting 85 miles an hour, you know, the upper 60s curveball. Threw a harder curveball at 74 once, so the stuff's ticked up a bit from his performance this summer. I hope there's some college coaches back behind the backstop who are watching. I can almost guarantee you there are.
I have no doubt about it. You can see him there as Jason Bello steps up, 2 away. Bello gets a hold of that one. Deep left field at the track. The catch is made, so the runners are stranded for eXposure. We head to the second inning, scoreless in Jupiter. Welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, home of the WWBA World Championship, our 25th year here. We're getting started. Our plate umpire, by the way, Tony Hernandez. On the bases, Antonio Penzone. They're in charge of all the calls in our first game on PGTV. Donovan Raby back out on the mound. He had a scoreless first. At the plate, Jendi Gonzalez.
Jendi Gonzalez, a native of the Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo, it's public, a switch hitter who has a FIU, Florida International commit.
My apologies, David. So it's Eric Lintelman on the mound. Lintelman on the mound, batter Jendi Gonzalez.
Yeah. Littleman found a way to throw 11 pitches in 3 minutes on my watch in the first inning. He's really working quick, challenging hitters. Last fastball, 89 miles an hour.
He was ready to rock. They had to wait. One hopper to the shortstop, fires over to make the out. Lucas Buckner making the play for eXposure.
And you almost sense that Littleman is pitching to contact. He's had a very fastball heavy diet so far. You know, when pitchers work quick, you can see the hitter here, Alejandro Ladero, you know, holding his hand up, you know, telling the umpire, give me a second to get in the box. So he's rushing the hitters a little bit. They're thinking about how quickly he's working, and he's pumping strikes.
That pitch fired in for a ball. 2-0 count. Ludero, a Lipscomb commit out of Pembroke Pines, Florida. Chops it foul, 2-1 count.
Ludero, big, strong right-handed hitter, 6'1", 195. Participated in the National Showcase this year and got a PG grade of 9.5.
And he takes ball 4 high. So he works a 1-out walk to give his team a base runner. That's the first for Elite.
Yeah, I imagine Littleman a bit disappointed with himself, but Ladero with the patient approach. And Ladero, for a big, strong, big lower body catcher, a very good runner, 6'9", in the 60 at the PG National. Not saying he's going to be stealing anything, but he can run.
We like those numbers. That's going to bring up Jan Okendo to the plate. Uncommitted. Looking for a home. Leaves that pitch high for a 2-0 count.
Everybody kind of quiet now. The benches aren't really talking very much. You know, it's kind of like they're waiting for something to happen. When's the first punch going to be thrown? eXposure tried to throw it by getting some base runners on.
Yeah, Elite did a nice job defensively. Looks like we're going to have a little meeting on the mound. Coaching staff for eXposure National, by the way, the owner, Brandon Turner, who went to Mississippi State, played professionally with the Marlins, former Tennessee Tech recruiting coordinator as well. What do you expect this conversation is about, David?
I think it's just to slow Littleman down. I was talking about how fast he was working. He's missing up consistently, which is a sign that you're rushing your body and leaving your arm behind. It's a thing that pitchers, get in, when they're trying to do too much, whether it's throw too hard or throw the perfect pitch, they can get accelerated. I think coach is just saying, hey, calm down, slow down your mechanics. And Littleman does on the first pitch for a strike.
That's what you want to see, right? Right after the meeting, fire in for a strike. And don't forget, both these teams 0-1. They had to wait a little bit this morning to play, so I could imagine he's a little anxious. The runner took off. The ball's going to get through the right side of the infield. And so Elite's working with runners on the corners now.
Perfect time for a hit and run. Your catcher can run a bit, 3-1 count. Littleman's going to be throwing strikes and a perfectly executed hit and run. Just watch that, stays inside, just slaps it on the ground to right field. There's nobody within 30, 40 feet of that ground ball. Maybe most importantly, Ladero able to move on to third base.
Johnny Ray, the batter.
Actually, I think we have a courtesy runner for the catcher, Ladero. That would be Ignacio Salavera.
Thank you, David. You are correct. Number 0. There's a check on Okendo over at first. Johnny Ray, again, uncommitted. He's out of Delray, Florida. He's working with a 2-0 count. He's a center fielder and a pitcher. Interested in a lot of East Coast schools, it looks like. And his dad, David, athletic, wide receiver at Boston College. Swing and a miss there. And his mom was a swimmer.
Ah.
Runner takes off. I throw down. Okendo's safe. So Elite working with runners on second and third, just one away, top 2.
Maybe this will be the first punch thrown. Get the dugouts, like I said, just seemed tense. Maybe it was the delay before the game. Maybe it's the importance of this game. But
Ray leaves it up, David. Yeah, that's going to load him up.
Load the bases. We have a pitcher who's struggling right now to throw strikes after having no problem in the first inning. And again, most of the pitches Littleman's missing with are up high. He's just not getting down the mound, not getting on top of the ball. He's going to have his teammates come in, give him a little encouragement.
Conrad Cason comes over from second. That'll bring up Raymond Gonzalez. Raymond out of Miami, Florida, goes to MacArthur High School, also uncommitted. Fouls off the first pitch he sees out of play.
Gonzalez, very good runner, 6.64 in the 60 at a recent PG showcase. And is hitting .463 in 19 PG games. so far this year with 11 stolen bases. So he's had a very productive summer. See if he could get what I would think would be his most important hit of his summer.
Big moment with the bases loaded. I'd say so, David.
This is a chance for that first blow to be struck.
Umpire said he did go on that last pitch, so 0-2 count. Oh, what a pitch. What a great job from Eric Lindelman.
Yeah, Lindelman's been throwing mostly fastballs. Sometimes the best thing to do when you're having trouble throwing fastball strikes is use your secondary pitches, and that was that big 12-6 curveball that Gonzalez was not looking for.
We hear that all the time, don't we, David? Even at the big league level, you hear pitchers who can't find their command with their fastball will switch to their secondaries to get a better grip, so to speak, on what they're throwing.
And it slows you down. First of all, throwing a curveball instead of a fastball, it's going to slow you down just by the nature of the mechanics into the pitch. But you know, it's one of those things. If one pitch isn't working, you go to another pitch. And you know, big leaguers who have multiple pitches that they can throw for strikes can do that easier. But it's something every young pitcher should know.
Willie Mendez, the batter. He swings through strike 2. So Lindelman ahead 0-2 in the count with the bases loaded. 2 away, top 2. Mendez out of Miami. He's committed to Miami-Dade College. Oh, great job by Lindelman to come back, get out of that jam, leave him stranded, and gets the strikeout.
I never let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I played with no limits.
Back, we're still scoreless, bottom 2. Exposure able to get out of a bases loaded jam by an Eric Lindelman strikeout. Both these teams 0-1 yesterday. Huge game on the line for them. David, we talked about the expectations of them coming to Jupiter ranked extremely high, 1 and 2 essentially for teams, and it was a bit of a surprise that they fell to 0-1. So they're not only both looking for their first win, they're looking to try to stay around a little bit longer.
Yeah, they're different teams in Jupiter come with different expectations. A lot of teams come to Jupiter and say, hey, let's get hot, let's have a good performance or two, and let's get to the playoffs. But they're not built to go through 4 or 5 playoff games. Both these teams are kind of built to go through 4 or 5 playoff games, especially exposure baseball. So their expectations were coming in were a little bit different than some other players.
Mateo Gray will be the batter, the UCF commit. Donovan Raby back out on the mound, ground ball to short. And there's a first quick out for the elite squad.
But if you're a pitcher, the best thing to happen on a baseball field is 1 pitch, 1 out. Doesn't get any better than that.
Ball stayed pretty flat on the ground for Ronnie Cruz, who reeled it in and fired over.
Yeah, and lest we forget, these are big league fields, and they're kept up by, you know, big professional grounds crews and everything like that. The infields are smooth. The grass is beautiful. It may not be so beautiful after we play, you know, 32 games in 5 days on them, but but that goes part and parcel.
Do you think that's the most action they see in a short amount of time?
I think there's
no doubt
about it. I mean, when you're in spring training and stuff, and you're using fields, but you're not using fields from literally 7:30 in the morning until 10:30 at night. On these fields, there are 15 hours a day. There are shoes and cleats and baseballs out on them, tearing them up.
Trevor Johnson, the batter. He takes ball 2 outside. It's a 2-1 count. A Duke commit. Bats left, throws right. Johnson hits it in the air. Center fielder coming over to make the grab. 2 quick outs. You know, I was impressed by Raby last inning, David, because he had 2 runners on as well, right? There's starting to be a little movement on the bases. He was able to get out of it, but not only that, comes out this inning and has worked quickly, efficiently, because he wants to get his team back in the dugout.
Yeah, and the most important thing is the efficiency. He's come out this inning, he's thrown 4 fastballs. He's relying on the movement. He's throwing strikes. He's relying on his defensive players.
Check down at first base, TJ Gramesty, the batter. Gramesty committed to Florida Atlantic. Watches strike 1 fired in for a 1-1 count. He's out of Boca Raton, Florida. Goes to North Broward Prep. He told us that his spring and summer were really successful. He said he was runner-up in his state championships, had a great summer playing multiple events. He learned to stay patient, David. Trust the process. That's one of my favorite things. Sometimes we hear it a lot, but it's really true. Watches ball 2 low. It's really true, especially today in social media and everything. We have access to so much now. Just play your game. You will figure it out. You'll grow. Some of these guys aren't even done growing yet.
Play the long game.
That's right.
It's hard. It is harder to do in our society today. But he makes a good point. You know, he's playing for the North Broward Prep high school team. That was a team that was high in the PG rankings, I believe, all year. His teammate Mateo Gray, who started this inning off with a ground out, one of the major players on that North Broward Prep team, and I think they're probably going to be ranked pretty high this spring as well with the talent they have returning.
How about that patience, David?
Yeah.
Works the 2-out walk. It looks like we're going to have a pinch runner for him for the eXposure team. That's Will Orberson over at first. So 2 away, bottom 2 runner on first base. Dylan Atkins, the batter, the Tennessee commit out of Leonardtown, Maryland. David, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't feel like these are big misses to the batters.
No, he's taking the approach, you know, let the movement, you know, take over and work to the course. It's basically you throw at the middle of the plate and let your movement, you know, take the ball over to the corners. Shows the depth of the eXposure roster. I just looked up Will Oberson's profile, the pinch runner at first. Ranked 411th in the country, Old Dominion commit, runs a 6.7 and has a 93-mile-an-hour fastball.
Well, he just advanced the scoring position.
Yes. So we will probably, especially if eXposure gets into the playoffs and moves on a bit, I'm sure we'll see him on the mound as well.
Atkins was on the 12U USA national team, also played in the 13U PG Select Fest.
Mentioned at the top of the broadcast the top 4 hitters for eXposure and how that was as tough a group of 4 as you're going to run across in Jupiter, and it doesn't really back down much after that, does it?
No, it doesn't at all. So another walk, back-to-back walks issued by Raby. Nice job behind the plate, by the way. Alejandro Ludero doing a really good job keeping those runners from moving because of him. He hasn't allowed much, and he's doing a nice job back there.
Yeah, we're seeing some walks here. I once did a study years ago in Jupiter about which team.
When did you have time to do a study?
Well, they're long days. You're here for 15 hours.
Okay, fair.
You know, you're creating.
You're busy.
You're creating content for articles or broadcasts or stuff, and the team that walks more hitters loses, I think it was between 75 and 80% of the games.
I believe it.
And I wanted it just to narrow it down to walks. I didn't want to, you know, that you couldn't look at hit by pitches or errors on the same, you know, database. And it was just, but really the team that issues more walks is going to lose the vast majority of the games. I don't know whether it's the same numbers in Major League Baseball. I tend to think it's not as severe.
I was going to ask you if there's a correlation. I mean, I get to watch it. I do feel like walks are a killer, but I wouldn't say that it's the end-all be-all at the big league level.
Yeah, and there are fewer of them. But if you come out here as a team in 7 innings and walk 6 or 7 hitters, and maybe throw in an error or 2 or a hit by pitch, that's just an incredible number of base runners out there that wouldn't otherwise. I mean, hitting with a wood bat when you're 17 years old against guys throwing 90 is hard. You know, to put extra players on base is just going to make it, you know, so much easier to score.
Yeah, those back-to-back walks. We'll see if they can get out of it again. 2 away. Brendan Siegler, the batter. Tennessee commit rounds out the lineup for this team. Exposure National out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. Watch his ball one.
Said rounding out the order. Exposure is hitting 10 players in this game. Elite Squad is hitting 11 players. 11 are allowed. You can have a DH, of course, but you can also have an EH or 2 EHs. So hit up to 11 players in PG tournament play.
Good comeback pitch from Raby to even the count up.
Raby's still working 84, 85 on the fastball.
One pitch. Hit on the ground, right back to Raby. Good job, fields it, tosses it over once again. Gets out of the jam, leaves 2 runners stranded for Exposure, unable to push a run across. So we stay scoreless, move to the 3rd inning here. Elite, Exposure, both looking for their first win in Jupiter. All right, welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, the WWBA World Championship. Danny Wexelman, David Ronsley here on PGTV. Eric Lindelman, the starting pitcher, the Elon commit for Exposure National, told us, David, that he will be pitching for the New York Yankees in his career. That is something that he was absolutely sure of. I love the confidence. He said not only that, in the World Series.
Okay.
Pitching for the Yankees in the World Series. You got to be specific about your dreams.
I bet you his favorite pitcher, Garrett Cole, thought when he signed that $300 million contract, he'd be pitching in the World Series for the Yankees. But it's not going to happen this year.
Not quite yet. They'll get there. He'll get an award, though. Jason Marcos, the batter. By the way, so Lindelman is a Yankees fan. And, you know, Darren sends these bios out, asks these guys to fill them out. So Lindelman knew that the Yankees weren't going to be playing in October. Their strike one. It's a 3-1 count. So he picked the Braves to win. He thinks they're the most complete team. Are you allowed to say you want to pitch for the Yankees and then pick the Braves?
I think Mr. Lindelman might be a little front runner right here.
Well, he lets that one get away. So it's a leadoff walk. Jason Marcos will take first. That'll bring up Andrew Alvarez.
Again, Lindelman having the problems with the inconsistencies. When he's on and throwing strikes, he's aggressive in the strike zone, getting early count contact, but then it'll go the whole opposite direction, and it'll be a 4 or 5 pitch walk, missing up in the zone.
That ball's in the air, out of play off Alvarez's bat. Uncommitted out of Miramar, Florida. Goes to West Broward High School.
Kason playing way up the middle at second base, almost a shift where he's playing. Easy to turn a double play from there, but a big hole with the first baseman holding on the runner at first, and Kason playing maybe 10 feet away from the second base bag. There's a huge hole there for Alvarez to go to right field.
That burned them earlier, David. Elite able to poke the ball through the right side because of that shift. There's a little check on the runner, Marcos.
I don't think you have a confidence in Lilleman throwing strikes right now to call for another hit and run, but you effectively have it anyway with that hole on the right side.
2-1 count to Alvarez. The ball popped out of play. Alvarez shared somebody who inspires him, that he looks up to, his math teacher, Mr. Gibbons. And I love that baseball players are math fans, are good at math. Obviously the numbers, right? Good block behind the plate for exposure. That's TJ Gramasty. But I love when these guys share a little bit more in depth about how much they love numbers and love math.
And math, I know I'm fortunate enough to be pretty good at math, and it's benefited me many times. But I guarantee you the reason I'm good at math is I was a baseball fan since I was 3 years old. There's that double play ball, and it's not going to be a double play. It's not going to even be an out. That wasn't a taking the ball out of the glove. That just glanced right off Buckner's glove. He's trying to be too fast, turning that what could have been an easy double play. Dropped it for the air. Let's take another look, Danny. There's Kason playing right in the exact position. Clean feed, not the clean catch.
Yeah, that's tough in these games, David, especially as you either get closer to the 7 innings or the 2-hour mark, right? You have to play really clean baseball. You have to limit the walks because you are limited in time.
Yeah, and this has been, for a game that's still obviously 0-0, not a clean game so far with the walks, with an error there. Just waiting for that first punch to be thrown, the first gap ball driven up a gap, the first clutch hit, the great defensive play.
So there's runners on first and second, no outs. That one is going to catch Dylan Howell. He's their leadoff hitter for Elite. He's pointing down at hit him. I don't know if the home plate umpire initially saw it. He's showing him his hand for proof, David.
I believe he squared to bunt.
So it's called a strike.
And we'll take a look at it here. He squared to bunt. Can we really see there? Obviously, it's inside. Yeah, did he pull it back enough? Did it hit hand or bat? Probably one of those ones just out of the realities of things that hit both hand and bat, and which one do you call? Obviously, Elite squad getting aggressive there. Runners on first and second, no out.
They're trying to make something happen.
Yeah.
They know they've missed opportunities already in the first 2 innings. They've squandered those base runners.
Okay, they are going to send Hal down to first base, so we have the bases loaded and no outs for Ronnie Cruz. It seems like we've had either 1, 2, 3 innings or 2 or 3 hitters on base.
Big
One
opportunity,
or the two,
that's right. Big opportunity for Cruz.
2, 3, 4 hitters coming up, and Cruz, Puig, and Gonzalez.
That ball misses. It's a
That ball
1-1
goes
count.
behind Cruz. Attempted a breaking ball.
Hey, David, talk to me about the infield as we see here. There are no outs. The bases are loaded. The infield looks to be playing back.
Yeah, definitely back. I'm not even double play back. Way back in the middle. Third baseman playing even with the bag, so and stepping in. He's got a chance to go home with it.
On the ground, gets through. Kaysen's glove, can't grab it. That brings home a run. So Elite gets on the board. 2 runs, in fact, come home. It is 2-0 Elite over Exposure.
Did we have 2 runs in there or just 1? Kason almost got that one.
Did. That's my mistake. It is just one.
Oh, it is just one. Nice play by the center fielder. Ziegler got to that quick, made a very accurate throw. Yeah, that was 50-50 whether they were going to send the runner. Alvarez, third base coach, held him up at the last minute.
Ethan Puig chops that foul, third base side right to us. So for Eric Lindelman here, he's been under pressure the last 2 innings now. The third, as we were watching right now, and the second. That is a line drive. Kason! Wow. Unassisted double play, makes the catch, tags the bag.
Wow, what a leap by Kason. We'll see this again. That looks like an NBA player going up for a rebound with this vertical here. And then the ability to reach in, get that tag, come down, and right away be moving to the second base bag. Big play right there.
Wow.
That's a 3-0 game if he doesn't get that.
Ball's chopped foul. Out of play. By the way, talking about his athleticism earlier, that has to be the definition of athletic, the play he just made at second.
Yeah, because that's instinctual. You don't have a lot of time to think about it. It's not a running play. It's just a leap and timing the leap back to get it at the top.
Makes a quick toss over to Buckner for the third out. Great job by Linselman. The defense, Conrad Kason with the double play. Elite, though, gets on the board. They lead 1-0. We head to the bottom of the third at the WWBA World Championship.
I need all the wins, yeah. Ain't no L's, I gotta get it, no call it quits, yeah. Gotta keep on moving no matter how hard it gets, yeah. Better move out the way, cause I'm coming with harder hits. My head is as hard as a brick, but I'm harder than all of this. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out. You better move, you might get knocked out, knocked out.
I feel like Mike Jordan, give me the rock and I'm scoring. Hey, came from the bottom, that's foreign. I swear that I'm up for the sun in the morning. I told him this ain't a game.
Welcome back to Jupiter, Florida, home of the 2023 WWBA World Championship, the 25th annual for 25 years. Perfect Game has been coming down to balmy, beautiful Jupiter. The scouts, the agents, these guys are here, David, not only to see the knowns, the well-knowns, they're here to see the uncommitteds. There are so many guys in our game alone who are still looking to find a home when it comes to college.
And the college coaches are definitely here for the uncommitteds, maybe not so much the ACC, SEC schools who already have their recruiting classes filled up. But, you know, someone like an Elon College, I'm sure Elon, Eric Lindelman's college is here, both to watch Lindelman, but also to maybe pick up a couple other players.
Donovan Ravy, for example.
Yeah, being a mid-major type school. Yeah, checking up on your already committed players is important, but everybody's looking because there are talented juniors, talented sophomores here as well as the seniors.
I have seen a lot of college coaches out here. It's so fun to see those guys, you know, David, getting to cover that season this year. The talent is off the charts. I'm really interested to see what the class looks like next year, those freshman classes in college, depending on who decides to go and get drafted and who decides to go to college. It's going to be a really great class. This is Lucas Buckner, the leadoff hitter for eXposure, kind of slaps it right back up the middle, the speed down the line, but he's out. Ronnie Cruz again with the arm across the diamond makes the play.
Now we're really starting to see the gold gloves come out. First Kason in the top of the inning. Now we've got Cruz. And Buckner's he's a plus runner. He's a left-handed hitter. No margin for error at all. Great play by Ronnie Cruz.
Two great plays by him at shortstop. in our first game today. By the way, thanks for spending your morning, early afternoon with us. We've got another game later today that is sure to be a good one. We are here to wow on PGTV. We've got Top Tier Roos and Canes National coming up after this game. Conrad Cason, we mentioned the athletic play, the incredible unassisted double play he made the Mississippi State commit. Looking for a hit. They need his bat to get going. I think if they want a chance, those top 4 in this lineup, the elite team, particularly Donovan Raby, has done a fantastic job of limiting the hurt.
Yeah, and he's not overpowering anybody, but he's using that movement. It looked like a changeup right there, you know, away the same pitch that he got him with in the first inning. But getting Cason on these weak swings, I mean, he's had such a great summer.
Oh, yeah.
Average 364, 4 homers in 23 games. You know, a couple strikeouts here and there. He's an aggressive swinger, but he's on a hot streak and has been all summer. To quiet him down now for 2 games. You mentioned he was hitless in their first game as well.
2-2 pitch is high, full count. Yeah, we saw him this morning, by the way, Darren Sutton doing an interview with him. You can catch that on PGTV, I'm sure, before the end of this year. I think one of my favorite things about Conrad is his smile, right? He's really impressive. He's wildly talented. His smile is got to be 1,000 watt. And he leaves it high. So the count worked all the way back for Cason, and it's a 1-out walk.
And this can be one of those situations like, okay, are we going to run? Do we need to make something happen offensively? Cason is a 6'4", runner, but you also have your best hitter up at the plate. And Chase Fralick, a left-handed hitter too. You want the first baseman on the bag to create that hole. So a lot of thinking going on in the eXposure dugout.
The best part of the game, right, David?
Yeah.
He was hit by a pitch in his first at-bat. Pitch fired in for a strike, evens the count up.
Raby, not the type of lefty who's going to automatically, you assume, is going to be a hard matchup for a left-handed hitter, relying on that movement, change of speeds. It's not a big power breaking ball at all, so not a big lefty on lefty advantage for the pitcher. Of course, when you hit as well as Fralick, you probably don't have too much of a platoon differential anyway.
I was going to say, I feel like at this point in his career, he can demolish either side. Check on Cason. Outfield depth respectable for Fralick. Oh, gets a hold of that one, gets through the right side. Cason's going to hold up at second, and he moves the runner.
Yeah, squared that one up. I mentioned the hole in the right side of the infield, especially with Cason being held on, and Fralick took advantage of that and hit it hard. Right fielder very aggressive, almost too aggressive coming in with that throw. Cason going nowhere, and if the pitcher Raby hadn't been doing a really good job of backing up, Cason would be at least on third base right now.
All right, so eXposure has something cooking. They trail by 1, bottom 3, 1 away. And there's going to be a little meeting for Team Elite. By the way, they are coached by Richie Palmer. He's their head coach. Assistant coach, Robert Martin, and another assistant coach, Chris De La Rosa.
Coach Palmer's got a right-hander warming up in the bullpen on the far side of the field. Can't really see the number, but yes, they have a right-hander warming up.
You've got Anthony Trelongo up, so it's your cleanup guy coming to the plate.
Now, when I mentioned those 24 players who've played in the big leagues from Elite Squad. Richie Palmer has coached every one of them, I am very confident of.
Don't you love that? Isn't that awesome?
2 of your New York Mets. Mark Vientos and Luis
That's
Gourmet
right, that's
are
right.
both former Elite Squad players, played for Richie Palmer.
I love watching Gourmet play the field, one of my favorite Met players. Vientos, they're trying to figure out where they're going to put him next year. Maybe third. We'll have to see. They got a lot of work to do. They got a lot going on over there. We got a lot going on here. 2 on, 1 away, bottom 3, Anthony Trelongo, the batter. We mentioned it earlier. We have known Anthony for a very long time. He has grown so much since I first saw him at 13 years old. He stands 6 foot tall now, 190. And I think there's obviously still room. Good block behind the plate. Quezon stays put at second. That's Alejandro Ludero behind the plate again, making a really nice play to keep the ball in front. But Trelongo, it looks like this season, David, for this team batting over his OPS over 1,000, average 455. He's had a great summer, you said. Yeah. 2-0 pitch, fouled back.
And something's unusual here happening.
Yeah.
You know, I mentioned before that Donovan Raby started off throwing 83, 85, and that was his high point.
Yeah.
He's now throwing 88 to 90. Maybe he knows he's at the end of his. He's never thrown 90 before. That's certainly not a perfect game.
So it's a PR?
Oh yeah. So
he's
he's by a significant margin, and you know he does look like he's throwing harder. Whether it's like he knows this is his last inning and he wants to bring it, or something, but definitely throwing harder. That's not important to the outcome of the game.
Well, I'm sure that doesn't feel good if he's throwing harder as Trelongo's hit. He takes his base to load him up again, David. How many times have we said this now in this game?
I think this is 4 innings, 4 half innings that we've either had bases loaded or at least 2 runners on in scoring position. And the fact that we're still in a 1-0 ball game, well, first a testament to Quezon's brilliant double play last inning to take Elite Squad out of a inning. But yeah, this doesn't seem like it should be a 1-0 game.
So Raby's issued 5 walks in the game so far. A couple hit by pitches as well. We're going to see a pinch runner come in for Chase Fralick. All right, bases loaded, 1 away, bottom 3. This is Jason Bello.
We'll try to identify the runner. There's a 51 on the eXposure roster. Okay, it's Bryce Jackson is the runner. I didn't think it was Trey Roberts, a 6'5" right-handed pitcher.
The ball's in the air, out of play, way out of play, back by our production truck. Hi, friends. We know you're in there. We just can't see you. How about our truck, by the way, putting on, how many games? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 games here in Jupiter. Our first time streaming on PGTV in Jupiter, Florida. It's pretty cool. One to Bello. Watches it low. Good block behind the plate. The runners stay.
We've done a lot of games, Danny, here from Jupiter in the stadium, of course. We've got a beautiful stadium there to do this, but you get such a different feel when you're out here with the scouts, when you're in the middle of a quad. You can hear the sounds and everything. It's a different experience and one that I love.
Oh, it's one of my favorites, David, is getting to be here. I didn't know this is what we were getting ourselves into exactly. I knew that we would be calling from the quad. I knew we would be on Marlin 6. I didn't realize we would be up against the third base fence watching this game from the foul territory outside the fencing area.
And sweating as much as the players.
Facts, David, that's facts. All right, 2-2 count to Bello. Base is still loaded.
Bello had a good swing his first trip, so he's probably feeling confident he's seeing the ball up there.
That one does get away, and a run is going to come home to score. Tie ball game, 1-1. You know, Ludero had done such a great job back there, David. Yeah. He really has.
And it puts so much pressure on a catcher when You know, you're working low in the dirt. You know, they've worked together before. I'm very confident, probably a lot. But there's only so many breaking balls in the dirt that you can block.
So now you've got runners on second and third. Just one away, bottom three. In the air, right side. Runners tag. And another run comes home. So eXposure takes the lead 2-1, bottom three. Good sacrifice RBI by Bello to bring the pinch runner Bryce Jackson home.
And that was a really nice piece of hitting by Bello. He had 2 strikes, full count. It was a real simple swing. That's almost like what he was looking to do. Got a fastball in the outside half and stayed very short to it. 2-1 ball game now.
We were waiting for this. There's been a lot of base runners in this ball game. The score does not reflect the amount of traffic we've seen on the bases. We're going to have another meeting on the mound. David, you said someone was warming up for the elite squad in the bullpen over on the right field territory. Do you think that's what's happening here?
Yeah, this is going to be a pitching change. You know, that's Richie Palmer's second visit of the inning. Let's see if we can get the pitcher real quickly before we go to break.
Yeah, so Donovan Raby's day is done. It looks like Alejandro Vasquez will be coming into the game to play the field. We'll introduce you to the new arm on the mound, Alexander Garcia, when we come back. All right, welcome back to Jupiter, Florida. eXposure takes the lead 2-1 in the third inning. Alexander Garcia will take over for Donovan Raby on the mound, the uncommitted right-handed pitcher out of Miami, Florida. David, what do you got on him?
Big barrel-chested, 5'11", 200, also plays corner infield. Fastball works in the mid-80s, also throws a 70-mile-an-hour curveball, 74-mile-an-hour changeup. It was all tournament, both pitching and batting at his last tournament back in late July for the elite squad.
2 away, bottom three. Mateo Gray, the batter. Jason Bello just before this hit a sacrifice RBI. Low-scoring game, a lot of base runners in our first one on PGTV.
Gray was actually the starting pitcher yesterday through 4 very, very good innings. Was up to 92 with his fastball, a true two-way guy who I can very much see him potentially at the college level. You know, at University of Central Florida being a two-way player. In fact, he's a primary shortstop now, playing first probably today to conserve his arm. But he could very well be a two-way guy.
He takes a strike. It's a 3-1 count. Hit on the ground, third base side. Ronnie Cruz. Ronnie Cruz can guarantee Ronnie Cruz covers a lot of ground, makes the play. Those runners are stranded, but eXposure able to take a 2-1 lead in this game. They finally get on the board and then have a 1-run advantage as we head to the 4th. All right, welcome back. eXposure takes the lead, bottom 3. They're up 2-1 over Elite Squad National. Both these teams, by the way, David, 0-1 coming into this game. It's of the utmost importance.
We're going to get a first pitch soft single into right field. Yeah, a lot of stuff has happened in the first hour of this game. Not a lot on the scoreboard to show for it.
Eric Lindelman came back out on the mound for eXposure, but after that base hit, it looks like his day is going to be done.
Kind of an interesting approach, sending him back out there for one hitter. Maybe if he'd gotten that hitter, he was on a, okay, as soon as you a base runner, you're going to be coming out. Lasted only one pitch. I believe we have number 53, Trey Roberts.
Right, David, what do you got?
6'5", 195-pound right-hander from Cary, North Carolina. And notably the only player on the eXposure roster that does not have a college commit. So this is an important outing for the 17-year-old. And that lack of college commitment may just be that he hasn't made up his mind yet, because he's been up to 91 miles an hour. And sorry, 6'5", 195, 17-year-olds who throw up to 91, are going to find a place at the next level to pitch. He hasn't thrown much. That maybe it's something here. He has only thrown a couple innings for eXposure this summer. Maybe it's something where they took him from another organization, but he hasn't been in front of the PG scouts, at least, hardly at all, even in his extended high school career. So one of our first looks at Trey Roberts. Hopefully we have lots of college coaches thinking the same thing.
Well, they have their scout books. They know. They're aware. They have everything and more. These guys have tablets, iPads, phones, scout books, friends, family.
Yeah, he actually pitched twice this summer at PG events for 5-star national. Just a little one inning out of the bullpens, and as I said, was up to 91 on his fastball at the 17U National Championships. Low 70s breaking ball, and he steps into a pressure situation here in the top of the 4th inning. His team up by a run.
Yeah, and Alejandro Ludero, who is on first base for Elite, he's done a fantastic job behind the plate for them. Gets on base, a leadoff man aboard in the top of the 4th. Elite trails by 1. They gave up the lead last inning. Jan Okendo will be the batter.
And again, I believe we have number 0, Ignacio Salavera. Pinch courtesy running for the catcher Ladero at first base.
Quick throw down. Safe is called. TJ Gramesty behind the plate for eXposure. Okendo 1 for 1 in this game. Takes ball 2. There's a pitch, there's a strike. 2-1 count.
Okay, Roberts has advertised 90 on his first fastball.
Ball 3 down, 3-1 count. Runner goes. The throw down. So Salaveria takes second, runner in scoring position, top 4. Full count to Okendo.
Roberts getting a lot of running life on that fastball. 87 to 92 so far to Okendo. Only fastballs. Okendo looked like he was comfortable. He'd seen 5 pitches. He was comfortable with the velocity. Took a good hack at that one.
Shared that he had a great spring, David. He said he helped his team win the district championship. Leaves it high, works the walk. To a board for Elite. They trail by 1 in the 4th. Trey Roberts came in to relieve Donovan Raby, or excuse me, Eric Lintelman. Johnny Ray comes up. Takes a strike down the pipe from Roberts. Ray walked his last at bat.
Something to look here for Danny. Roberts is very slow to the plate. He's obviously concentrating on the hitter, trying to throw strikes, and he's 1.6 to 1.7 behind the plate. And that's almost an automatic stolen base for any runner with speed, and it won't be necessary as that pitch goes to the backstop.
Yeah, I would say that the pace has slowed. So now you've got runners on second and third base for Elite.
No new story in this game. Runners on second and third base. I'm remembering back to the top of the first when Eric Lintelman had a 1-2-3 inning. I don't think that's happened since.
That's far away at this point, isn't it? There's strike 2. It's a 2-2 count. Johnny Ray still looking at school options for himself. That one just misses.
First breaking ball, maybe. We've seen a changeup from Roberts. That breaking ball just missed.
Ray said he had a great summer. See if he carries it over. 3-2 count. Fouls it off. He said, I played with USA Prime Coastal 16U in a lot of tournaments, performed well. I had some home runs, even won the state games championship for North Carolina. 2 on, no away. Another 3-2 pitch. Fired in for a punch out. Nice job by Trey Roberts to work it back, gets the strikeout, 1 away.
Yeah, that was a nice pitch right there. Obviously, runners second and third. You don't want the bases loaded. Just spotted that up in a perfect location. I don't think Ray had much of a chance to drive that ball at all, even if he had swung.
Raymond Gonzalez, the batter, has made a couple plays in center field. He takes strike 1 from Roberts.
It's fun to watch these young teenagers, and we have to remember they're all teenagers. The confidence that comes and goes. He threw that pitch so confidently after seeing a strike the one before. Dropped the slot a bit on that breaking ball, but threw it aggressively. And you could just sense a little bit of different body language from Trey Roberts after that strikeout.
Sometimes it takes a moment. Again, you can just see from this shot, all the scouts, everyone who's behind watching this game. That one misses.
Just misses.
Just misses. 2-1 count.
Catcher Gramansky trying to frame that ball up. Didn't convince Hernandez, the home plate umpire.
There's a swing and miss for strike 2. He evens it up. Gonzalez struck out his first at bat. Elite trails by 1, top 4. They've got 2 on. That one skips in past Gramasty. The runner comes home. Tie ball game.
2 wild pitches. Gramasty had no chance at that. That was a hit before the plate type pitch. No chance to block that at all. So kind of the same thing we saw with Littleman. When he's on, he was throwing quality strikes. Same with Roberts here. You know, hitting corners with 89, 92, but when he misses, he misses.
We were scoreless until the 3rd inning. Elite Squad put up a run in the 3rd, top 3, and then Exposure came back and scored 2 to take the lead. Top 4, Elite comes back to tie it. That pitch fired into Willie Mendez. Did it hit him, David?
No, ball 4.
Ball 4, excuse me, to Raymond Gonzalez. My apologies. Raymond Gonzalez. I was looking at the box score. So they're loaded up. Runners on the corners. Top 4, 1 away. This is Willie Mendez.
And I'd be surprised, again, with how slow Roberts is to the plate. If runner on first isn't on the move, whether that's a hit and run, whether it's a straight steal. Fake's going.
A 1 chopper to Buckner at second. He steps on the base, throws it over, but the throw is offline. Runners out at second base, 2 away.
Here's another defensive error, whether it's a wild pitch pass ball. Now it's an error on Buckner for what looked like an easy double play since the runner wasn't going. But a run scores. We'll see it again. Just a real simple. Buckner decides to take it to the bag. Has plenty of time. Momentum carried him off on the throw accuracy, however.
All right, so Elite's up 3-2 over Exposure. They regain the lead on that play. Jason Marcos, the batter. He walked his first at bat. Came home to score. Another ball chopped on the infield. Buckner can't field it.
That was going to be a tough play, bang play at first, whether Buckner had fielded that cleanly or not, just couldn't make the transfer. Rough couple batters there for the very talented Exposure shortstop. See this again, left-hand hitter, gets out of the box right away. Buckner knows he has to hurry. I think he might have had him, but it was still a tough play.
Runners on first and second, top 4, 2 away. Elite's up 3-2. Andrew Alvarez, the hitter. Foul stop pitch away. It's a 1-1 count.
Elite squad taking some big swings this inning, aggressive swings. I think they realize that Roberts pretty much a one-pitch pitcher right now with the fastball. There's the breaking ball.
Pretty pitch.
Yep.
Fired in for strike 2.
You could tell Alvarez didn't recognize it, you know, hitched up, couldn't let the bat go. So a very important pitch there for Roberts to get out of this inning.
That one's high to even it up. Again, eXposure came into the top of the 4th, leading 2-1. Elite able to get some on, bring some home to regain the lead they had. He waits on it. Foul ball.
Alvarez made the adjustment, got another curveball there and waited back, recognized it. Lived to take another swing.
Alvarez, again, uncommitted on his team. He shared that one of his favorite players to watch, Jorge Soler, as he lays off that pitch to bring it full.
All right, big pitch here. Roberts is, although he came in relief this inning, has already thrown a lot of pitches. Runners going. This is outside, ball 4.
Wow. Ball 4, bases loaded, top 4, 2 away for Elite. They're already ahead by 1 run. You know, David, they'd like to give a little length to this score. There's been some errors. There's been way too many walks in this game, a lot of base runners, but if they could create a gap at this point, I feel like that could be the key for them to knock off eXposure.
And with the bases loaded, again, you have a pitcher who's thrown a lot of pitches. Trey Roberts going to stay in the game? Looks like he is. But Roberts has thrown a lot of pitches. No, he isn't. We will see a new pitcher for eXposure.
That's going to be it for him. Bases loaded 2 away, top 4. Elite leads by 1. When we come back, we'll introduce you to the new arm on the mound for eXposure.
Oh, yeah. Been waiting for this one.
Welcome back. Tight game. Elite squad leads eXposure National 3-2 in the 4th. Bases loaded 2 away. New pitcher on the mound for eXposure. This is Stratton Scott. David, what do you got?
Stratton Scott, Tennessee commit. That speaks for itself. 6'2", 190 pounds. Been up to 90 with his fastball. He's thrown a lot for eXposure the last 2 summers. 55 innings. Has struck out, 75 hitters in those innings. So accomplished pitcher with an SEC commit.
Yeah. Big moment for him. I heard, by the way, Tony Vitello is here wandering around somewhere.
Okay.
Maybe watching his future pitcher.
I we could go through the list and see how many commits he has playing in Jupiter right now, and I'm sure Scott isn't the only one.
No doubt. Hey, here's what I love about Scott, what he told us, Scott, excuse me, is he loves to watch Spencer Strider play. He said he grew up in Knoxville. I went to a school close to me. I love to watch his effortless motion. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that their both initials are SS? What do you think? No, probably not.
Probably not.
No. He shared his self-scouting report with us. Can hit 91, typically sits 88 to 89. Big moment for him as the bases are juiced for elite two-way top 4.
And I'm pretty confident with Stratton Scott's record and how much he's thrown for exposure. This is a pitcher that they were thinking, hey, if we get to the playoffs, and have a smooth pool play, this is a guy we'll start in the early in the playoffs. And of course, you got to get to the playoffs first, and that's why we're probably seeing Stratton Scott on the mound right now.
Yeah, there's a strike to Dylan Howell, the leadoff hitter for this elite squad. He struck out and hit by a pitch so far in this game. I mean, listen, the top 4 in the lineup have done really good damage. Ronnie Cruz especially on deck. This is the out you want to get. So that's fired in for ball 1, 1-2 count.
It's almost the out you have to get. I mean, a single here, a gapper, and he'd completely break open the ball game. It's, you don't get the sense, the way this game is going, it's not going to be a 7-inning game. That's already clinched at this point with all the base runners and walks that we've had. So the time to do damage is right now. Bases loaded.
Howell watched that one all the way in, DR. 2-2 count.
That's a good pitch from Scott. That's a 82-mile-an-hour. They're calling it a slider, but that almost has curveball depth to it. So it has power. It has depth. Could be a pitch Spencer Strider might like.
I'm sure he's not watching. Got a big game coming up. On the ground to third, easy play, force out at third base. So those runners left stranded, but Elite able to regain the lead in the top of the 4th. David, again, it's 3-2 Elite over Exposure, and they got on the board in the 3rd. They scored a run. Exposure took the lead, bottom 3, 2-1, and Elite now has retaken the lead. I still think they left some runners on. I mean, I think that's unfortunate because Exposure is a really good team.
Yeah, I no doubt that there's been runners on base. Opportunity squandered by both teams with the number of runners. You'd like to say, yeah, we're going to, there's going to be more opportunities and stuff. We'll see. We've got new pitchers on the mound for both teams, or Garcia actually coming in after facing one hitter and getting an out in the top of this inning. But a nice clean inning of baseball would be nice.
Yeah, we'll see if Alexander Garcia, who's back out on the mound, can get it done. He came in to relieve Donovan Raby. Both these teams looking for their first win in Jupiter. Not something we had on our bingo cards coming into this game. It's day 2, by the way, in Jupiter, Florida. If you're unfamiliar, if you're just tuning in for the first time, the largest amateur scouting event. Golf carts, college scouts, pro scouts, agents. Perfect game out here. The top talent, top travel teams. David, and I think what is so cool is this is the 25th annual. You've been here for 24 seasons. 24
of them, and hopefully for many more. But it's all about creating memories, and a lot of it, this is a baseball festival, and you see everybody talking. It's for people in the game. If you're a college coach, you may not have the chance to talk to somebody you worked with 10 years ago, and they're here. The scouts are all talking about who's hiring, scout gossip type things.
There's good scout gossip, I bet, huh?
Oh yeah, there's plenty of scout gossip. It's a baseball it's like a convention is really what it is. I'm saying festival because that's kind of a happy outdoor thing.
Hey, check this out. So Pool M, we mentioned it. We didn't think Elite Squad and Exposure would be coming up into this game, both 0-1, but they are. They lost yesterday. So Elite Squad lost to Upstate Mavericks 4-1. And then Exposure lost to Hawaii Elite 2G 7-4. So both those teams now 1-0 in Pool M standings. David, I know we're about to get set real quick, so we'll set this pitch, but I would love for you to go back and talk about the pool and the importance of winning game 1.
Well, first of all, I want to shout out to those two teams. First of all,
Okay.
Upstate Mavericks are one of the original Jupiter teams. They have been around as a program forever. As that first pitch is lined out into center field for a base hit, and looks like we're going to have more base runners this inning, Danny.
Yeah, nice job getting it started again. Garcia came back out on the mound. It looks like that was off the bat of Trevor Johnson.
Yeah, perfect way to lead off an inning down by a run. But to get back, the Upstate Mavericks are a team that's been in Jupiter maybe for all 25 years. It's great to see them all the time. And Hawaii is a huge story.
Yeah.
Because having a Hawaii team here in Jupiter until like last year was unprecedented. And there's just such good talent in Hawaii right now. You look down their roster, it's 100% all Hawaiian. There's a number of top 500 players there. There's some huge scholarships there, some very talented players. And I've never been to Hawaii to watch for anything. I'd love to go there for excuse to watch baseball too, but there's definitely the talent on the island now.
The talent, no doubt. TJ Gramasty, the batter. A 1-1 count. I think what's incredible is watching the growth of that state and watching how they continue to build ball players and legit ball players, top talent ball players, guys who are going to college, guys who are getting drafted. Aukaikea, for example, who was an All-American, committed to Vanderbilt from Hawaii. And I think the more that they're able to get that exposure, it's tough. They've got to come to the mainland. They've got to come over to get it. Great block behind the plate.
Now, of course, you have Akai Key,
That's right.
who not only came over to reach the status of being a PG All-American and a Vanderbilt commit, now he's going to school at IMG for his senior year. So he literally went from the Hawaiian Islands to the East Coast.
I think they have to work a little bit harder, David, if I'm being honest, and I hope they continue to do so, because the fact that we've got a full Hawaiian team in Jupiter, Florida is a really big deal. And so is this game. So we'll get back to this game. A lead up 3-2, bottom 4. Full count on Gramasty. Swing and a miss. Good pitch from Garcia. Gets the strikeout, 1 away.
Fastball right down the middle, challenged Gramasty. He took a big cut at it, maybe too big a cut at it. Got that all-important first out.
That'll bring up Dylan Adkins. Adkins walked his last at bat. A pitch misses inside for ball 1. Another Tennessee commit, you mentioned it, David. I mean, the All-American game as well. It was a lot of orange. Hit on the ground. It's going to get through the right side. They're going to hold the runner up at second base. Trevor Johnson is going to stay put there. Nice job by Adkins to put the ball in play. Now runners on first and second, just 1 away. Brennan Siegler will be the batter.
I want to shout out to Jason Marcos, the right fielder for Elite Squad. He's had 2 of these balls with runners on first base. He charges aggressively, has an exceptionally quick release on his throws. And there is no way they're going, any exposure runners going first to third on a single to right field with Jason Marcos out there.
You're right. They've put the brakes on, haven't they?
Yeah, and they
Hard.
have to. They would. He would have been out by 20 feet at third base.
Siegler 0 for 1 with a ground out. Exposure trails by 1, bottom 4. 7-inning games, 2-hour limit. Check on Johnson.
Yeah, from the looks on the clock now, we're in the bottom of the 4th inning. We are on my clock exactly an hour and a half in. So we finish this inning, get the whole 5th inning in, and that might be as much as we can hope for this game. Maybe a quick 5th inning, and we haven't had a quick inning yet. You know, could get us into a 6th inning. That's what I'm looking at right now.
There's a strike from Garcia, evens the count up, 1-1. Elite had a huge opportunity in the top of the 4th to widen the gap in the score. Unable to do so, so they keep it close. They allow Exposure to stay in this game. That one just trailing away, the throw down. What an effort from Ludero to try to make that play, even though it got away from him. Still made the throw down.
Yeah, Ludero showed a lot of quickness coming out of his crouch there, and most importantly, made an accurate throw to third base. You know, you can just see that. That's, you know, Ludero's doing is getting rid of the ball as quickly as possible. He wants to make that play, and he makes that accurate throw. Almost gets him right there. In fact, that's one of the ones, if the third baseman had let the ball travel, you might have had a better chance to tag him out.
So now Siegler's got 2 runners in scoring position, a 2-1 count. And he takes strike 2.
Brennan Ziegler. High school teammates with Stratton Scott, the eXposure pitcher right now at Farragut High School.
Gets a hold of that one. Ronnie Cruz playing in, makes the play over at first base. Elite defense from the shortstop.
Ronnie Cruz is the man. I'm going to make a comp, Danny, to
Let's
your
hear it.
favorite New York Met, Luis Guillorme, who was a elite squad graduate.
That's right.
Who's what is a fourth year in the big leagues, and he was one of the best defensive middle infielders we ever. I never thought Luis Guillorme would ever have a chance to hit big league pitching. He can, and Ronnie Cruz has a lot of the same actions and big smile there. He just knows he just made a good play.
It's
It's
like third athletic play he's made.
Third good play of the game, and he makes him look easy.
That sails into Lucas Buckner, the leadoff man for eXposure.
There's nobody in the ballpark that wants Lucas Buckner to get a hit more than Lucas Buckner right now. He had a rough inning defensively that gave Elite the lead, and a base hit now could take that lead right back, and you know that has to be on Buckner's mind.
Well, you got to give Trevor Johnson props for taking third on a ball that didn't get that far away from an arm in Ludero that's really strong. That was a really heads-up move, so both runners advanced on that. There are 2 away, though. 2-0 pitch. Fouled out of play.
You can tell Buckner's a middle away type hitter. He has that big shoulder turn to start his swing, and that's usually indicative of a player who's going to hit to the opposite field a lot. But he's going to shorten his swing up and just try to make solid barrel contact, get some runs in. We're now 3-1. He's got an opportunity to be selective as well.
Buckner shared with us that one of the challenges he's faced is being smaller than his competition, but being able to play at the same level, working hard to be consistent. He faces a 3-1 count. Fired in for strike 2. Good pitch from Garcia to come back. There's 2 away, 2 on, bottom 4. eXposure looking to tie it or take the lead. They're running out of time.
Yeah. Buckner also goes to Farragut High School, lists at 5'10". I'm selling a few inches on that, Lucas, but that's not an abnormal thing to do.
That's all right. Listen, I will tell you, David, I think the game is trending that way more and more, and guys like Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve and Kevin Pillar, and there's so many names out there of guys who the stature is the least important quality about them, right?
Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll.
Corbin Carroll might end up being the most popular player in baseball before too long.
I love that
keeps
prediction.
Playing like he is, between his personality and the fact that he's an everyday guy. He's 5'11", 170 pounds.
Man, that kid, he was here in 2018, by the way. I have a photo of him with Cade Doty. He went to go play college ball at LSU, now in the minor leagues. But there's a photo of those two together, and it's just really cool to see where these guys go. I think Corbin will win the National League Rookie of the Year as well for the Diamondbacks, who advanced to the Division Series, by the way, so you can watch a little more Corbin. So here's the scenario. Buckner worked the walk. Bases loaded now. Not what you need when you're just trying to get out of the inning. It just seems like the last out seems to be the most difficult for both sides.
No doubt. Now you have the situation. You have bases loaded, 2 outs, 3-2 ball game, and your best player up at the plate. Now, Conrad Quezon has not had a great day. He hasn't had a great 2 games, really. But we all know it's in there. He's made great defensive plays, just hasn't really got his pitch. He's taken some strikes. He's expanded the strike zone. But he's got to be locked in right here, because this could be the most important at-bat of this ball game, and potentially to these 2 teams' hopes to get in the playoffs.
It just means more here, right? This is his last time, to play with this team, to play with these guys. He'll be a part of the 2024 draft. These moments matter to them, and I know it's corny to say, but this is exactly the scenario that these guys dream of. Of course, they want to do it at the big league level, but What better spot to be in if you're Kason? Bottom 4. Your team trails by 1. You got the bases loaded and 2 away. This is your spot, my guy.
Be the hero, and the same thing is going through Alexander Garcia's mind. It's like
100%.
It's like I need this out. I need to be the. And you made a very good point there, Danny. About most of these players are seniors. They've played with these teams. Some of them probably for 4 or 5 years, and they all know this is their last event together. And you talk to these players more than I do, and something I understand comes up all the time in interviews and stuff. It's like, this is my last time playing for fill in the blank, Canes baseball, eXposure, Elite Squad, East Cobb. You name it. This is they know this is their last time with their teammates.
1-0 pitch coming from Garcia. Kason waits, flares it, just foul.
Just got out in front of that one a bit. And the ball came off the bat, and you're like, okay, is it? And the obviously foul, though, once you get a longer look at it.
Kason's walked, struck out. He scored a run in this game. These are the moments that they dream about. 1-1 pitch coming in. Ludero, brick wall, keeps it in front. Great job by him. Again, bases are loaded for maybe the fifth time.
Fifth time?
Yeah.
I'd go for 5.
Look at us, David. You're reading my mind over here.
It's 5 out of 8 half innings.
Yeah. And it's a 3-2 ball game. A 2-1 pitch from Garcia. And there for strike 2. Infield playing at the grass. Middle infield. Kason gets under it. It's it out of play.
A little late on that pitch. He definitely has a 2-strike approach. He's looking to put the barrel on the ball.
Bases loaded, 2 away, 2-2 pitch coming. Swing and a miss, Garcia gets the strikeout. The base runners are left stranded. Elite maintains their 3-2 lead. We're gonna go to the 4th, David, and this ball game is shaping up to be a really good one.
Oh yeah, we have about 20 minutes left before the time clock, and there's not gonna be a short inning. We'll be back in a minute, and we'll see what happens in the 5th inning. Top of the 5th inning here on a beautiful day in Jupiter, Florida. And we got a ball game in what might be the final inning, depending on how our time limit comes around. Elite Squad 3, eXposure 2. Stratton Scott back on the mound for his 2nd inning of work for eXposure. As I said last inning, I think Scott, eXposure had originally planned him as a a starter in the playoffs, potentially using him in almost an emergency situation, this back and forth game. We've seen a lot of walks, we've seen a lot of base runners, and not a lot of offense for all that. First hitter, Ronnie Cruz, who we've mentioned over and over for his defense, doubles down the left field line. And just like every other inning before, it seems like, we got a leadoff hitter on. Cruz just took what looked like an inside fastball and turned on it. Young Miami commits made at least 3 outstanding defensive plays, and now he is on base at second base as Elite Squad looks to expand their 3-2 lead. That brings Ethan Puig to the plate, number 27. Puig, like Cruz, a Miami commit. And I'm sure he's just looking to make contact, maybe hit the ball behind.
What I missed, David?
Cruz over to third. You missed your favorite player doubling down the line.
Ronnie Cruz?
Yes.
Ronnie Cruz has been on base with us twice today now. He had an RBI. He's got 2 hits, a double, an RBI, and he has been a web gem machine at shortstop today. Now, don't tell anybody else that he's my favorite, David. Don't go telling people that.
Broadcasters can have favorite players.
I try to
They
be
can have multiple
transparent.
I think you have about 200 favorite
I
players.
would never tell you that.
You look.
I would never share, but there are some maybe that I've really enjoyed getting to cover over the 6 years I've been with you guys now.
Little cat and mouse game here in the box. Puig stepping out, Scott stepping off. I think we're ready now for the 0-1 pitch.
Waits on it, hits it softly to short. Buckner racing in, fires over to make the out. So able to make up for it, David. Not able to make that play earlier in the game, gets it done there. Runner moves to third, Ronnie Cruz over to third. So we were talking a little bit about this guy right here, Corbin Carroll, PG All-American, 2018, David. My first time with you guys, MVP of Perfect Game All-American Classic. He should be the NL Rookie of the Year for the Diamondbacks, headed to the National League Division Series starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and one of the most fun, high-energy players we've ever had. It's the same personality he shows on the field with the Diamondbacks.
We're talking about maybe guys who are smaller in stature, right? Buckner sharing that's been something he's had to overcome. But we have guys who can play their brains out, and the height is the least interesting thing about them. Another ball to Buckner, fields it, and fires over 2 away for eXposure.
Yeah, that's a key play right there. Who is that at the plate? Jendi Gonzalez?
That was Jendi Gonzalez.
Yes, with infield in. Of course, you're bringing the infield in with 1 out and a runner on third base, but hit right at Buckner, who's made 2 clean plays, very accurate throws to stand out on defense. Kind of held back on that throw. I think he was waiting for his first baseman to get to the bag a bit.
He was quick to it.
Yeah.
Playing in. So now there's 2 away, runner on third base. Elite trying to add a little insurance here. They know how dangerous eXposure can be at the plate. Both these teams looking for their first win in Jupiter. They're 0-1 from yesterday in Pool M, pool play. Upstate Mavericks and Hawaii Elite 2G earning the wins yesterday in pool play.
Yeah, Stratton Scott doing a great job of aggressively throwing strikes, making the Elite hitter swing. Got that curveball up a bit there, but got away with it to Alejandro Ladero.
I've loved him behind the plate today. You know he'd love to bring this run in. You got a guy on third base. 0-2 count. Scott's got him where he wants him. And that one hits him. Not what you want. That is the last thing Stratton Scott wanted.
That looked like a changeup that just had that changeup fade to it. Ladero's not going to get out of the way of that pitch.
Absolutely not.
He might have been able to, but he wasn't going to get out of the way of that. And there's another base runner. Ladero's been on base, or shall I say Ignacio Salavera has been on base at least 3 times today.
That's right.
Brings the plate.
He's got speed too.
Yes.
I'd assume he's going to take second here, depending on what happens. Jano Kendo, the batter. Big swing and a miss from him. Stratton ahead 0-1.
I would think they want to give Kendo a couple swings, a couple pitches to see what he can do before you move the base runner.
What a great job Stratton's done getting ahead. 0-2.
Yeah, it's been all strikes. He's 145 to 1.5, about high school average to home, so not a giveaway on a stolen base attempt, but not quick by any means either to the plate. He's got the full leg raise.
0-2 pitch coming to Okendo. Fights it off, out of play.
Yeah, Salavera was running on that. It wasn't a full committed, I'm stealing second base. It was more of a, okay, it's an 0-2 count. Let's make something happen. We got a pitcher throwing strikes. Another 0-2 pitch.
Runner takes off. That one fires in for a ball just high, missing the zone.
Just high. It's one of those you lean forward a bit on to say, okay, is he going to call that a strike? But too high. Probably good call from umpire Hernandez behind the plate.
So Salavera takes second. Runners on second and third, 2 away. It's a 1-2 count to Jano Kendo. Oh, in the dirt, almost chased, held back. They try to tag him. They go to the umpire, who says no, safe, did not go around. Heads up play, though, by Gramesty to make the tag anyway.
And to block the ball.
And to block the ball. Yeah. Keeps the runners at their bags. Two on, two down, a 2-2 count. That one high. Full count. What another tense moment, David.
In a game that was one followed by another, followed by another.
As if we weren't sweating enough.
And still, the dugouts are amazingly quiet. It's like a tenseness for them. It's not the enthusiasm that you often hear.
Oh.
I mean, we've got 3-2 and 2 outs. And
Oh, what a pitch. Caught looking. Wow. Stratton Scott comes back, gets the K. Those runners left stranded. eXposure running out of time. They trail by 1 here at the WWBA World Championship. We head to the bottom of the 5th.
I never let myself believe that I was gonna be in the big leagues. I always worked for it until I achieved it. Back in Puerto Rico, I remember my dad would hit me ground balls from the top of the hill. That forced me to always move my feet. There were no limits to where I could go, so I played with no limits.
Welcome back to Jupiter, Florida. We have a 1-run ball game for you here on PGTV. eXposure National trailing Elite squad. Elite leaving 2 base runners in the last frame. And so eXposure gets to come back to the plate. They are the home team We're on a time limit. We're on a 7-inning limit as well. And we know the damage that eXposure is capable of. Looks like Garcia is back out on the mound for Elite.
Garcia's made his pitches when he needs them. That was not one of them. As Freilich gets hit for the second time in this game.
Does he crowd the plate? Is he crowding the plate? I didn't see.
I didn't see. I think it's both of them were on breaking balls. It's, you know, I think people are pitching them so carefully. These players all know who each other are and what their reputations are, but ends up as a leadoff runner. We will see the pinch runner.
Gold Draper coming in to run.
But yeah, I was saying about Garcia, he's, you know, he hasn't been blowing anybody away. He's been making big pitches. At the end of last inning, you could see Ladero set up outside. He hit his spot perfectly to get Quezon for strike 3, and he's really been making the clutch pitches. Yeah, there's been some base runners, but Garcia has made the pitches when he's needed to.
Got out of a bases loaded jam. Anthony Trelongo, the batter, we mentioned the meat of this lineup as he lines that ball down the third base line. Draper's gonna hold up at second base, so Anthony Trelongo with a base hit.
Yeah. Good aggressive swing there by Trelongo. And here we have 2 runners on base again, and Jason Bello at the plate for eXposure. And Bello's really, I think, has taken the best swings of any of the eXposure players today. He had a nice sacrifice fly to medium deep right field his last time up. Took a good swing on a solid barrel contact his first time up. So he's feeling good about himself at the plate, and it seems like every at-bat is important in this game. And here in the bottom of the 5th inning, extra important.
Time running out on the clock, a 1-run game. The pitch to Bello, missing for ball 1.
Yeah, I very unofficially have 8 minutes left.
Okay.
Very unofficially. They keep that behind the plate. The PG employee is keeping that behind the plate, so that's all official. It's communicated to the umpires at this point in the game. The umpires aren't keeping track at the time.
Two on, no outs. The 1-1 pitch coming. He waits on it. Whoa, what a play. Diving third baseman to make the play at third. He tries to get the out over at first base. Elite squad route. Andrew Alvarez is who I have at third. Who do you have?
That's Ethan Puig at third base right now.
Ethan Puig came in to play third. Wow.
And he's getting a big smile from Ronnie Cruz, his teammate out at shortstop, as they reenact. Yeah, that's in a game that's featured a lot of good defensive plays. In context, that might be the biggest. Garcia hung a curveball, and Bello was all over it. Just a reaction play by Puig.
How about the left side of the infield for Elite? Nothing has gotten by them. One away, that ball's in the air. It's gonna stay on the infield. Everyone's coming in. Cruz calls him off, makes the play on the mound. There's 2 away.
And even that is not an easy play there. It's not a high pop-up. Cruz is coming all the way in from shortstop. That's one everybody's going, you got it, you got it, you got it. And until, Cruz is obviously the captain of the infield, had to run up on the mound a bit to get it.
Run up on the mound.
Yeah, think of that. He's coming a long way to get that ball.
All right, so this is going to be Trevor Johnson, as there is a meeting on the mound. By the way, tomorrow eXposure will play the Upstate Mavericks. That game at 12:40. Marlins 3.
Looks like we have a lefty coming in to replace Garcia, who threw what?
All right, so we mentioned Pool M for you. This is Pool M that you are watching, our first of 2 games today on PGTV. Yesterday, the Upstate Mavericks and Hawaii Elite 2G upset Elite Squad and eXposure. So these two teams you're watching right now, both looking for their first win, a really important win as well. But Upstate and Hawaii Elite earned those wins. Hawaii came back to win their ball game, and they're sitting better than these two teams on the field right now.
Yeah, and they play today, and it will be real interesting to see, obviously, the result of that game, because that will change the dynamics again further, depending on who wins this game. Obviously, after this game, there'll be one pool play game left, with eXposure playing Upstate, Elite playing Hawaii, and one of those games is going to be for the pool championship.
Yeah, Hawaii's going to play Elite Squad tomorrow, 12:40, that game on Marlins 2. So new pitcher, it's a one-run ball game for Elite. This is Kyle Powers, the lefty, coming in a big spot. 2 away, David, 2 base runners on, bottom 5.
Yeah, Kyle Powers being thrown into the fire here. Big lefty, 6'2", 190 pounds from Atlantic Beach, Florida. Works in the mid-80s with his fastball. Control guy, and very important. Has pitched 20 innings this summer in PG play. It's only walked 3 hitters. So we're looking at strikes here.
That would be important right about now.
That would be very important right about now.
That stat jumps out to me. DR, we have seen a lot of walks in this game, a lot of free passes, a lot of hit by pitches. This would be the moment to dial that in.
Yeah, and obviously coming in to face the left-handed hitting Trevor Johnson. So we got the platoon advantage, and we're going to have strikes.
All right, runners on first and second, bottom 5. First pitch swinging on the ground. Backhanded, Ronnie Cruz deep in the hole. The ball, though, received just not in time.
Yeah, he had no chance to get the runner at first, Johnson. I almost thought what he was going to do is fake the throw and see if the runner coming into third was going to circle the bag.
He's still smiling,
and
though,
I'm sure Puig and Cruz have some sort of unspoken communication.
Oh,
but
yeah.
but the one thing I've noticed about Cruz and his throws is that he has that AstroTurf bounce.
Yes.
I know we're not playing on AstroTurf; we're playing on a big league field. But he's very comfortable throwing one-hop throws, because that's what that was.
That pitch is ripped, backhanded, but the throw is offline. A run scores for eXposure. So we got a tie ball game.
We got a tie ball game, Danny.
I believe that was TJ Gramasty who brings in the run.
And after so many great defensive plays, chance to make one more for Elite Squad. I think that's Jendi Gonzalez out at second base. He was way off balance after the dive, couldn't make the accurate throw to second, and said, we got a tie ball game. Or another way to put it, we have a brand new ball game.
Yeah, we do. Tie ball game, bottom 5.
And
Bases loaded
Bases
again.
loaded.
This is Dylan Adkins with 2 away. Ooh, breaking ball, fired in.
And a lot could happen here with the time limit. If there's a hit here or a run scores that puts eXposure up 4-3, we may not get a 6th inning. We're right on the edge right now. So it's all going to come down to the next few pitches potentially.
It's so fast and furious here because we don't know. We're just waiting like everybody else. Kyle Powers asked to come in a big spot for Elite. eXposure takes advantage and ties it up. 2-1 count to Adkins.
Adkins is going to be aggressive here. Oh, he takes a hack. That was the extra bases hack. That wasn't the just produce a run.
He wants to break it open.
Yes, he does.
A 1-run lead against this eXposure team isn't safe.
Now probably back into protect the plate mode with 2 strikes. Catcher sets up outside.
Swing and a miss. He gets the strikeout. Runners once again stranded. Missed opportunities, but eXposure does tie it up, David, in this ball game.
Are we going to play another 6th inning?
Let's see.
I just heard a cry of angst from one of the benches, and our pitcher had run out to the mound, and he's
They're
coming
waiting
back.
to see. They're waiting to see.
I think we got ball game here, Danny.
Oh, that's tough, DR. That's tough. Tie ball game, tense moment. Time is out, though. We do not start another inning. So tie ball game between Elite Squad and eXposure National. They were both looking for their first win today. They're going to have to wait another day.
And this is going to help neither of these teams because a tie, it'll go down as a tie, and this really puts Upstate Mavericks or Hawaii in the driver's seat without neither of these teams being able to pick up the W.
We got another game for you, though. Do not worry. We'll be back here on PGTV coming up. Canes National, they're 1-0 against top-tier Roos, also 1-0. It's going to be a powerful battle of these two teams. Huge thank you to our entire truck, everyone who is standing out on the field, our camera people. We appreciate you so much. For David Ronsley, I'm Danny Wexelman. Brian Skowski will be here in a little bit. We got you covered on PGTV when we come back.
What a perfect time to put a bow on an incredible summer around amateur baseball. Hi there, folks. My name is Darren Sutton, and you found Perfect Game Weekly. We're presented by Rawlings. And speaking of the summer that was, we've got some great stories as we look back. The story of Anson Seibert, a right-handed pitcher from Canada.